about them Irish?
I can't take it anymore. I need a national championship.
This is the Four Horsemen podcast.
Notre Dame beats Navy in a game we all kind of predicted, I think. Line was 21. We covered that with ease. What's next for the Irish? We're going to find out on this podcast. But before we do, I'm going to pass it over to Steve to give a word from our sponsor.
Yeah, it is Dwindle Student Debt. Guys, this is a company that is dedicated to finding you a good paying job. And not only are they going to help you find a good paying job, also going to help you with finding a job that's going to help you pay down your student loans. Matching student loan benefits. That is the name of the game with Dwindle. If you sign up, you can sign up for free. They're going to allow for you to get a free resume critique, and then they're going to match you with a job that does offer benefits. And if you are already not in school but you're considering it, they also can be used as a resource to help find like tuition assistance, tuition reimbursement. So Dwindle is all about, their entire mission is helping solve the student loan debt crisis. Go there today, dwindlestudentdebt.com. That's Dwindle, DWINDLE, studentdebt.com. Tell them that the Four Horsemen sent you. Let's get our finances in check as we head into the new year.
Well said. Well said. I don't like playing Navy. And it's not because I don't get the history or because I don't like the program or anything. It's just that we beat them by 4 touchdowns and it felt like we didn't play great. Navy has that really weird effect on you where you end up blowing them out. But that game kind of felt pretty close. We struggled offensively for a while, like comically so. Then the offense exploded. I think Jack Cohn has shown when he has a pocket, he can be one of the best passers in the country. And the defense balled. The defense did get lit up a few times, but for the most part, they really shut down Navy. Lots to dissect there, but I don't know how much you can actually take away from the game and apply it long-term for the Irish, because Navy is such a unique program. You don't learn much about, it's not like you're playing the spread offense and you're locking them down, right? You're playing a very unique offense. You're playing a team that's like 2-6. So you're supposed to beat them by a lot. And I just don't know what to do with it. You know what I mean? It's like Notre Dame hands us this result here. We beat Navy by a lot. It's like, okay. Thanks for that information. There's nothing I can do with it. Steve, are you a little less pessimistic about just the general game itself, or are you kind of feeling it?
I did come out of the game feeling a little bit more optimistic. And just because we played sound, right? Just fundamentally sound. Jack Cohn threw an absolute laser, to Kevin Austin. And, I saw some people saying that should have been picked off. I don't think that ball's picked off by anybody. I think a quality safety plays the man, and then he just knocks Kevin Austin out of bounds there after making the catch. I think that's a catch against practically any safety in the world, right? Even against Kyle Hamilton potentially, because he is a absolute animal. I just think that the better play for the safety there, he overcommitted, and that should have been just a catch and out of bounds rather than the touchdown. But that's neither here nor there. I mean, all in all, running game played well. Kyron Williams, we've said it once, said it a million times. The man literally does not get tackled. Like, it's insane. Like, there was that one play early on in the game. He was in a crowd of people on the hash marks, and then the next thing I know, he was like 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage, like at the sideline. He teleported. He literally just teleports across the field. And I don't know how he does it, but once he's in space, he's impossible. Defensively, it's a weird, funky, system that you got to scheme against. And, they had a couple of reverses here and there, but by and large, we just plugged the holes and played well. Kurt Heinisch, have a day. A lot of guys just playing really good and stepping up. So, would have wished to put another 14 on the scoreboard. We were shut out in the first quarter and the third quarter. But being able to respond, being able to come back, and also being able to finish strong in that fourth quarter. It's all the markings of, and a team that covered as well. It's all the markings of a great football team. So, are we going to, if the chips fall, are we going to, go in as the number 4 seed and beat Georgia by 3 touchdowns? I don't think you're going to hear that from me. Although I am optimistic about this team, I don't think we're on that level. But are we continuing to trend week after week into the right direction after we've already had the teeth of our schedule? Now it's kind of just coasting as we, just hopefully, knock on wood, finish 11-1 and head into a New Year's Six bowl game. I think that's kind of where we're at, and obviously a good portion that we're a very integral part of our finish here is going to be staying healthy. So that it does stink that we learned today we did lose Braden Lindsay. We lost Avery Davis, to a torn ACL. So that's, again, one of the things that sucks about playing Navy is it always feels like there's an injury. But I mean, that's kind of the general thoughts.
So just to clarify, Braden Lindsay is not hurt, correct?
Correct. Exactly. Yes. I
it's just Avery Davis.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Perfect. All right, Steve. I want you to tell me what's wrong with me, okay? And I won't let that pause hang too long. You've defended on the podcast Jack Cohn. We saw in the numbers early that he is a great passing quarterback when given the opportunity. His problems have been taking sacks and leaving the pocket perhaps a little too early. Over time, we've been proven right, I think, this season. As NDFB Analytics pointed out, in the last 3 or 4 games, Jack Cohn is 6th in the country in quarterbacks for a PFF grade, or 8th, top 10, and starting the season in the 80s. So that kind of goes to what we're showing. The offensive line gets better. Jack Cohn's natural abilities come out, and he's improved week by week. I think he took a minor step back this week. I think he was better in the previous weeks, but still playing good football. Jack Cohn didn't have his best game, but he played good football. I defended him. You defended him. We see potential there. We think he's an NFL caliber talent in terms of arm strength and accuracy, with negatives, of course, but we've defended him as the starting quarterback, correct?
That is correct. Yep.
Okay, then tell me why every time I watch Notre Dame football, despite making these defenses on Twitter, I'm really, really, really yearning for Tyler Buchner to play.
Yeah, and I understand that, and I also want Tyler Buchner to play. And if we, at this point, as we're playing inferior teams down the stretch, maybe let's just get by Virginia, because they can put up points in a hurry, right? And that you really just want to play your best game against and everything. And there's the clamor out there in the ether, in the Twitter sphere, that, hey, you know what, let's let Cohn kind of finish out Virginia and then start transitioning to Buchner and let him get the experience, and then we'll see how the chips fall in regards to a bowl game. There's merit to that. Jack Cohn is excellent. He is very, very good. I wish he was a little bit more fleet-footed like Ian Book, but I mean, can you imagine Ian Book's legs with the rest of Jack Cohn? Jack Cohn's field vision, his arm strength, his accuracy. He's damn good, man. Our offense is inherently designed to be a dual threat quarterback, right? And we don't have that in Jack. Jack's more of a take 3 steps back and fire a BB in there, and he's still successful, and obviously he's proven you're an 8-1 football team. He's now propelled himself into one of the top 40 quarterbacks in the nation by PFF grade and by statistics and analytics, and he'll probably finish in the top 30. I think Jack Cohn is an NFL quarterback, so I cannot state enough how good of a QB I think that Jack Cohn is. Good guy, good leader. I think that I personally would still want to see him carry out the rest of the year, but it's not wrong in any capacity to not be excited about Tyler Buchner, right? he brings the juice. He's 6'2", 215 pounds. He's got a pretty damn good arm that's only going to get better year after year as he continues to physically develop. He's going to start seeing the field a little bit more and adjusting to the speed of the game. Again, remember, this kid did not have a senior year, and he blew out his ACL in his junior year midway through. So that he's going on about 20 months of not seeing football action, and then stepping on campus as a true freshman, and he's performing the way he is. So is Tyler Buckner exciting? Absolutely. There's so much to like about Buckner. He's unbelievable. Again, he is the future. But I just think that it would be the prudent and wise decision to see where Cone can take this team as we head into the postseason pretty shortly here. And then Tyler's going to take the reins, and we're going to have him at the very least for his junior and senior season. I'm sorry, his sophomore and junior year seasons, potentially longer. Who knows? And just enjoy the ride. And we have more QB prospects coming down the road. You think Dante Moore is a big target in 2023. We have 2024 guys that have already gotten offers. Steve Angeli is he's a 2022 commit. At quarterback from New Jersey, and he's gone from middling 3-star to pretty solidified 4-star, right? This is a guy that is going to be promising in his own right, so don't write him off. So the quarterback position, the offense, the team in general, it's all exciting, especially to kind of harp on your point, and I'll turn it back over to you, but on Logan Diggs's run to close out the game, the final touchdown of the game, there were 5 true freshmen on the field. There was Deion Colsey. There was, oh my God.
You're stepping on my toes, Steve.
Yeah, I'm sorry. There was Lorenzo Styles, obviously Diggs, the true freshman.
Joe Alt on the line.
There was Joe Alt. There was Tyler Buckner. So there were 6, because also Mitchell, the
other tight end.
Yep, yeah, exactly. So you have 6 true freshmen punch the ball in to close out the game, and that gives you that juice that really gets you excited about the future. So, that's kind of where we stand. I'm going to be a little bit more prudent and say let's let Jack play out his time. But any thoughts that you have, let's hear them.
Yeah, a few things. Here are Jack's, and we're talking about accuracy here because some people on Twitter thought he's not very accurate. Here are his last 5 performances. Cincinnati, he threw 63%. Virginia Tech, he threw 75%. USC, he threw 71%. UNC, he threw 66.7%. Navy, he threw 79%. His accuracy has gotten better over the seasons. It's not all against bad defenses. He threw very well against Cincinnati, even though it wasn't the best game. He was accurate. He's got skills. To your point, he's going to be the quarterback, and he should be the quarterback. I just get more excited when Tyler Buckner's in because it feels like the offense can be explored more if they let him throw the ball. I just want to see Tyler Buckner run the full offense at some point, and that'll probably be at Ohio State Stadium next year. But there's a lot there to like. Here's what I wanted to ask you, or here's what I wanted to bring up. How about Lorenzo Styles and Deion Colsey? Oh, baby. What a breakout performance these guys have had in the last few weeks. Freshman wide receiver. That's all we've been hearing lately is how we have not had wide receiver talent in bunches. We have talent, but never as much as we've wanted. Well, you got 2 good young freshmen right there, I tell you. Colsey had a great big play in the game. Styles was running all over the place, and Styles has really been picking it up lately. Steve, what are your thoughts on the production we're getting? Because one thing the Brian Kelly criticizers have always said is that there's not enough freshman playing time, right? Jordan Johnson didn't get enough playing time, so he left, according to some.
And he's also gotten 0 playing time this year at UCF. So
and that might not be why he left. That's just what people were saying, right? People infer that Kelly and them, they don't play enough freshmen. Well, look at the offensive contributors right now. You have Tyler Buckner as a key part of your game plan. You are utilizing 2 freshman receivers, one of whom I think has maybe replaced Braden Lenzy in terms of who I'd rather have the ball thrown to. You have tight ends getting involved. You have offensive linemen getting involved. What are your thoughts on the freshman production and in particular Styles and Colsey?
Oh my God! I mean, they're going to get their work cut out for them. Because with the injury to Avery Davis, the scholarship wide receivers that are healthy remaining on this roster are Kevin and Austin and Braden Lindsay, both true seniors. And they both can come back next year if they want to. And then other than that, you have your three true freshmen for this year. It's Jaden Thomas, Deion Colsey, and Lorenzo Styles. We haven't seen JT yet, but at this point, he's going to make his way onto the field in the next couple of games because they don't really have a choice. Because other than that, they're going to Matt Salerno, who's a walk-on. He's a redshirted junior. These two guys, I mean, Deion Colsey, first off, the pass from Jack Cohn over the middle was an absolute rocket, and it was dead on the numbers. But Colsey, being a 6'4" baller, he just makes it look effortless. He's almost like he just looks and feels like he's like a Julio Jones type guy. It feels like he can really just be a matchup to start exploiting, especially if you get him out on the edges. And if Jack can get those passes out there, he could be an absolute weapon. And then on the other side, you have Lorenzo, and it just feels like every time he touches the ball, it's a massive game, right? His EPA is off the charts. I mean, he's just been an absolute spark plug, whether it's a screen pass where he's taken it 25, 35 yards downfield, or anytime he touches the ball, basically in the middle of the field, it feels like he's a risk to kind of break it out. So it's been impressive. It does take these wide receivers quite some time to kind of learn the route tree to get the sync and the timing up with the QB and just kind of learn the game. And they've done so impressively up to this point. And I think obviously they're only going to get better. So this could be a real turning point and with the program. And I think this is also a message to recruits. Think like Carnell Tate, the top wide receiver recruit, Jalen Brown, top wide receiver recruit. If you're good, and if the team needs you, you're getting your number called. Next man up mentality. And I think if Kelly's ready to embrace that, it's not only going to be more successful by bringing on athletes onto the field, but you're also going to bring more athletes into the program inherently that are going to be getting an earlier shot.
Yeah, you touched on it a bit there. Avery Davis obviously out for the season. That hurts a lot because he is your only slot receiver because the backup, Lawrence Keys, entered the transfer portal this season. So you don't really have a natural slot guy. You said Matt Salerno, but again, he's a walk-on player, probably not your ideal slot starting receiver. I think Styles can be that guy. I think Styles has the play flexibility to be your field receiver like he's been at times and to be lining up in the slot. So I would be pretty excited to see Styles get more game time. There's a lot you can design there too. I think Lindsay could be even more useful in the slot than he's been. You can go with Chris Tyree in the slot. You can go Michael Mayer playing more off the line and more in a receiver position. There's a lot you can do, but there is going to create opportunities there for Styles because I think really he's the only guy who could. I mean, everyone could probably play slot, but he's the only guy that you would naturally look at as somebody who could play the slot on this team. And I think with Davis going down, a very underrated player, they're going to need to make up that production somewhere, and that's an opportunity. That helps Notre Dame in recruiting, like you said. It helps them on the field because you're getting good play. You're not just putting them in for the sake of playing them. I mean, Styles has been genuinely pretty good. Yeah, it's exciting. And with Buckner getting reps, I see people saying playing Cone doesn't help us long term. And it's like, well, long term is 3 more games. I don't know what he's not here for much longer. And it's not like Buckner hasn't been prepared. Buckner's played in almost every game this year. You don't need him to be starting now for him to be ready next spring. Having the game time he has is way more than we expected. We thought he wouldn't play at all, other than maybe some specialty red zone packages. So, Buckner's been getting his game time, and he's looked good when playing because defenses do not know how to play him. The RPOs, as he gets better vision and gets a better sense of the college game, he's only going to get better at them. And you can see when it's an RPO, he can take that and run the distance. Oh, yeah. And also you could turn those RPOs into essentially play action passes, right? You could run the RPO not with your first read being for the running back or yourself, to pull or to give, but to give or to throw. You know what I mean? There's that option with the essentially a play action RPO. There's a lot the offense could really turn into that we need to see that Buckner can provide. So you're getting him in there now is the best thing possible. And it's only going to get more exciting and better for him, I think, as we go along.
Yeah, exactly correct. He did have that RPO where he moves outside. Guy was covered, his pitch or bailout, pass was covered, but he did pump fake regardless. And yeah, it's only Navy, and they're not the greatest athletes there. I get it, but the fact that Tyler has the wherewithal to make that play and then to finish it, right? It's like great players make great plays. I don't care about who the competition is. So yeah, Tyler's exciting. All the true freshmen are exciting. It's an exciting time in South Bend, and I know we kind of have a little bit more of a low energy feel to this particular episode, but you truly have to appreciate where we've come as a program and where we're heading. And I think we're heading only in positive directions. So, I mean, that's kind of closing out all my thoughts on Navy. There's all the thoughts that we could have on Navy we could share in 30 seconds. And I think we all have the same exact thoughts. So we can just kind of breeze past that. And then in regards to, the freshman ilk, love them all. And it's very exciting.
Let's talk playoff committee. You said low energy, so now I feel it's incumbent upon me to now boost up the energy. Stop being so monotone, Steve.
Let's go. All right.
Committee rankings came out. The disrespect to Cincinnati is disgusting. I think the criticism against the G5 the last 2 years have been, well, you don't play anyone good. Well, they played Notre Dame on the road and were the first team in 4 years to beat them. I don't know what more you need. I don't care that the rest of their schedule isn't good. It's not that their schedule was necessarily bad. It's that you don't know how they would have done against a good team. Well, now you know. They beat a good team. They beat a top 5 team in college football. They should be ranked. Now, people noticed Michigan ranked ahead of Notre Dame. If you buy the committee's logic that Michigan State is ahead of Cincinnati, then sure, you would rank Michigan ahead of Notre Dame. That's not a concern. The concern there is the committee's decision to not rank Cincinnati ahead of Michigan State. And therefore you would have Notre Dame over Michigan. That stuff's going to play itself out, so don't worry too much about it. But I do wonder if that spells doom for Notre Dame's playoff chances. And then ancillary to that, does the path in, which we thought required Cincinnati winning out and taking that spot, does that mean less now? And would you rather see Cincinnati lose? Because if Cincinnati's not helping you, because they're not really helping Notre Dame right now. Notre Dame's ranked. The Cincinnati loss didn't keep them 10. They're 10 because they're only one loss. You know what I mean? So maybe it's easier if Cincinnati drops a game or two. Sure, that makes your loss look worse, but you eliminate a team. But I don't know. I think this committee I didn't like the rankings at all. I do like that they had Oregon ahead of Ohio State. I think that was the only justified one you could have. Or the only justified, I think, approach to that ranking is head to head. But I don't know how Alabama is 2. I don't know how Cincinnati is 6. So we're going to see. We're going to see where it goes. But I want to ask you, do you think the committee ranking Cincinnati so low? And to be fair, Cincinnati can still get in because there's going to be teams that lose ahead of them. But Cincinnati not being respected so early hurts Notre Dame because it means Notre Dame is not going to benefit off Cincinnati's coattails because if Cincinnati gets in, it's because other teams have lost, not because Cincinnati's resume is so great, thereby improving Notre Dame's resume. So we kind of lost that connection. So what I'm going to ask you is, do you think our playoff hopes are essentially dead now? And is that a bad thing?
I think that they are on ice. If I were to put a percentage chance behind, what chips need to fall, and we've been over them, but again, it's just a 2-loss, champion
Alabama.
well, Alabama, yes, and then you have to have a 2-loss Pac-12, Big Ten, and or Big 12 champion, right? So it's going to play out one way or another. It was mightily disrespectful to Cincinnati. And I would say right now we're probably at about a 10 to 15% chance to make the playoff. Again, I will contend that given this year, given that number 4 seed and what it means, what you're going to have to play as the number 1 seed, I am quite all right. I don't want that smoke. I want to get the big game win off the narrative, just kind of fire it into the sun and just get this shit over with, so that way we can focus on going next year to Columbus, kicking the crap out of them, and then just kind of getting on with our season and our national championship run. But yeah, I don't know. It does suck though. I'm not gonna lie, because I want to come in right at number 5. I'd love to come in as the number 5 team in the nation, and I don't know if that's gonna happen, right? Because I just feel like there's still gonna be so much more respect given to these programs that just have not played as good. I mean, Alabama won by what, 6 points against LSU, who's 4-5, and they're still going to be ranked number 2. You just know it. It's just like, what are we doing here, man? Like, it's so frustrating. And I'm sorry, I'll let you go.
Let me explain to you a new fear I have, a new anxiety for Notre Dame fan. I'm worried we're going to get Alabama in a bowl game.
Ugh.
And in that case, I'd rather play Georgia in a playoff game, because at least the playoff game means something. I think the appeal of not playing in the playoff, even though I would always pretty much rather be in the playoff, I will consider hard the Georgia question. But the reason you wouldn't want to be in the playoff, or at least a takeaway, a benefit of not being in the playoff, is you could finally end that stupid statistic of how Notre Dame hasn't won a major, New York Six bowl game. New York Six. I love how I say that. Sorry, New Year's Six bowl game. And you'd like to shed that, but that only works if the New Year's Six bowl team you're playing is Coastal Carolina or Penn State or Michigan State or Oregon.
Iowa.
Iowa. It does not work if that team is going to be Ohio State or Alabama, which the one year Notre Dame did get a New Year's Six bowl game was Ohio State, and just luck of the draw, that was the one team we couldn't beat that year.
I mean, that was literally, if you look back at the 2015 Ohio State roster, I'm pretty sure about 40% of their team is still currently playing in the NFL. Like, that is one of the greatest teams ever assembled on paper.
They were a very good team. So that's my concern, is if we're like, I don't want a bowl game if we're going to lose that bowl game. I'd rather lose the playoff game. So, keep that in mind too when you're thinking about this stuff. But I think Notre Dame and Michigan are circling each other. I think Penn State's loss, I think Penn State Notre Dame was going to happen more, like it was more likely to happen. But with Penn State losing to whatever random team they lost to, I think it was Illinois. I think Michigan might be the team, because if, assuming either Ohio State or Sparty kind of come out of that division and win the conference, a 10-2 Michigan will probably go to a New Year's Six bowl, as will an 11-1 Notre Dame. That could work, right? That's possible. That's in the cards.
And just to interject quickly, just to kind of set the stage of the seeding and the matchups and everything, you did instill some terror in me with bringing up Alabama. As of right now, that's not looking likely. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible, just the way that the chips fall, but it's not looking likely. I think because the Sugar Bowl is the SEC versus the Big 12. And then the Rose Bowl is obviously the Big 10 and the Pac-12.
Well, is the Sugar Bowl being played this year, or is that the playoff game because they rotate between them?
So the playoff games this year are the Orange Bowl and the Cotton Bowl. So the Sugar Bowl right now, the projections would be Oklahoma State versus Alabama.
But what happens if Georgia wins the SEC? Alabama is number 2. Do they automatically go to Alabama, or does it become an at-large bowl?
Yeah, that's the inherent question at hand. Right now, it's still projected to be, I'm just kind of reading some projections off CBS, and it's still, Bama and Oklahoma State. So that's why, I don't want to say 100%, they're going to be relegated to that game. I'm feeling better about the odds that, these bowls, for better or for worse, or whatever your opinion may be, do tend to try to keep their conference alignment intact. So that would be like kind of the only saving grace that we have right now. We're projected.
Is it Fiesta Bowl? Is it the Fiesta Bowl?
Yeah, we are projected in the Fiesta Bowl against Pittsburgh, and I don't think that's going to play out. I think we're going to get another team.
But it is starting to look like the Fiesta Bowl might be the bowl for Notre Dame, just because the Fiesta Bowl historically has an at-large spot.
Correct.
Whereas the Cotton Bowl to me might have an at-large spot, and we have a tie-in with the Orange Bowl. So we're a little unlucky this year that those two are the playoff games. Like we were unlucky the year we went 10-2, because mostly a 10-2 team would get into that one of those bowl games. But in that year, the Big Ten had so many 10-2 teams, so Notre Dame lost out on the bowl priorities. So I'm a little concerned there. But it seems to me that the Fiesta Bowl and Notre Dame, especially if we're 11-1, is going to be destiny. The question is who in that game. So we could end up with a fairly like an Iowa State. Remember that bowl game. So imagine that, but just a bowl that mattered. That would be ideal. Assuming, of course, we're not in the playoff, and it doesn't look like it's going to be that case. There is sufficient chaos happening in the Big Ten for the theory to play out. But just the way Cincinnati was disrespected to me, barring like a Wisconsin wins the Big Ten, I think Notre Dame is down to a percentage chance, like a 1%, I think, very unlikely. Not to get hopes down, but it's also something to look forward to. And like you said, you win that bowl game, you end that stupid long-term statistic there of how long it's been. But also, you go into season 2022 on a high, and you need to be at your best because your first game of the year is at Ohio State. So if winning a big bowl game kind of sets that stage, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree, and that's kind of the position I've been in. And to be clear, if Georgia wasn't Georgia this year, right? If they were just like traditional Georgia, where we had those two games back in 17 and 19, where both games were one-score games, then yeah, sure, I'll play them in a playoff game. And you know what? They're an SEC school, they're a powerhouse, they have a bunch of 5-star recruits. They'll still probably beat us, but at the very least, we're gonna fight. Not this year. Not this year. I mean, we just we are in an in-between year. They are kind of riding the high of kind of all their chips falling into place at once, and that's a lot of what college football is at this point. And actually historically, you'll look at some great teams and some fantastic programs that have fallen short in specific years, and that's because they've just the lulls and in between of your recruiting classes, and great teams find a way to mitigate against those. Think Alabama, but then you have LSU that has won 2 times since they won their BCS Bowl in 2001, and then they just won back in 2019. But then in between that, they were trash, or at best. So that's kind of the way that it is. And right now, as we are down but still ascending, while Georgia is at their peak, I'm all set with that. So that's why I think we're still a top 7 program in the nation. I think we're probably better than OU and Oregon. So I think we're probably the number 5 team in the nation talent wise. Mm-hmm. So I'm not afraid of any team outside of Alabama or Georgia. And I've kind of stayed pretty consistent in that view, and that's where I am heading into in the mindset of this postseason.
Yeah, I don't think that's wrong. And I think having that chip on your shoulder of being overlooked by the committee, even if it's deservingly so, we can build that narrative of we were snob.
Let's bang the drum.
We'll beat that drum. And look, the talent's there next year too. A lot of that defense is coming back, we think. There is a huge class coming in. You are going to have potentially a big step with Buckner. That'll be obviously key for next year. There's a lot going. So, if we don't make the playoff, it's not the biggest deal in the world. I would still rather be in the playoff. But I'll take a bowl win over Pitt. Would you?
100%. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I would prefer, if we're going to pick and choose, anywhere from Michigan, Michigan State, even Oklahoma State, Texas A&M, Ole Miss. Those would all be fun. I have no interest in playing Wake Forest in that game because if we play Wake Forest, we're going to win by 2 touchdowns, right? And
Wake Forest is good.
No, if we play Wake Forest, we're not going to win by 2 touchdowns. We're going to win by 4 touchdowns. I'm not afraid of Wake Forest. Like I want a good game. I want a game that's like a 10-point or less spread, and I think that we are 10 points or better than just about every other team. Again, other than I think Ohio State, they're probably about a 55-45 win split. Bama, I think, probably gets a 80-20, everybody else, I think we're favored, 60-40 the rest of the way. So
I think Michigan's a good game. I thought that would be a blowout, but the more I think I've watched Michigan, yes, they're overrated, but Cade McNamara is having a good season,
mhm.
and Michigan has a surprisingly good offensive line. I think that would be a closer game than I'd want to admit. So not that I want to avoid Michigan, but I really want to win that bowl game. If we're
That would
not,
be fun.
if we're getting a New Year's Six bowl game and we're not in the playoff, I want to win it. So just give me the easiest winning opponent. Let's get that off our checklist of things to do, and then focus on winning the national championship here in the next 3 years because the building blocks are there.
Oh, it's there. It's coming. Like I will throw down whatever, I don't know, whatever I have to do as my stamp of approval. Book it now. It's happening.
All right, spontaneous question for you in the audience. You tweet us your answers at home. Coach Kelly retires the end of the season. Within 5 seconds, you have to tell me who your number one choice for replacement
Marcus
is.
Freeman.
Okay, it still is. That's what I wanted to check. It is for me as well. I have a feeling a lot of Notre Dame fans expected more and are, for whatever reason, disappointed. But for me, that hasn't changed. I think Marcus Freeman is absolutely the man to take over this program. I would absolutely kill for Joe Brady, the former quarterbacks coach at LSU, who was really kind of the architect of that offense and that amazing national championship team. I would love to have him involved in the program.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a head coach. If it's not Freeman, then I'd go Brady. I'm not unseating Tommy Rees at all, but it'd be great to have him be an OC. Just somebody of that caliber, because it's the offense that we need to take that next step. And I think he would be the guy to do it, especially with Buckner. If he did that with Joe Burrow, imagine what he could do with Tyler Buckner. So, yeah, that's that. I'm glad we're on board there, but I'm interested to see what you guys at home think. So just tweet us at Horsemen Pod what your answer is. And if you're listening to this, thank you for listening. And I hope you consider supporting this podcast. We all have full-time gigs doing our own thing. So to help sustain the quality and the content that comes out, consider making a monthly contribution. You can find that in the description of this tweet below, in this podcast below, or you could find it on our pinned tweet at Horseman Pod. It's basically anchor.fm/Horseman Pod support, and you can make a contribution. It would be greatly appreciated. But let's head into something else, Steve.
Can I give you a really quick update on something?
Give me a really quick update on something, or a long update, actually. We're not really in a rush.
Chase Claypool had a really awesome catch for 26 yards, big first down to help set up a touchdown drive.
Awesome. Love Chase Claypool. You guys know my opinion on talented Canadians who make it into markets they're not supposed to make it into. So, it's like in hockey, right? Like, it's not a big deal when a Canadian's doing great in hockey because they're like 50% of the NHL. But like in the NFL, you get a Canadian who's really doing well, and it jacks you up because we're not in the NFL that much. And to have somebody kind of show out like Chase Claypool, it's been a thrill to watch his career develop as a fellow countryman. So don't even get me going on a Chase rant.
Sorry, I just had to interject there, but now on to the next topic.
What do you want to talk about, Steve? Let's give the audience something new.
Oh, man. Okay. Let's talk about the running back room for 2023.
Sure. I need to say Logan Diggs is a lot better than I thought he was. I thought Audric Estime was going to be that guy from that class, and I would still like to see him more. He should be the fullback on every goal line run. Like, he should 100%. Just be the guy. But Diggs seems to be the one they want. He seems like an all-around back, more so like Kyron Williams. Not that he's Kyron Williams, but you see a little bit of that in his game. Big fan of his. As long as the offensive line can give him a push, he's going to do great things at Notre Dame.
Absolutely, yeah. So we're looking at Chris Tyree heading into his true junior season. He is going to be draft eligible, so that Tyree's going to want to put on the performance of a lifetime because true freshman, he had his spots this year. We were really hoping for him to break out. He's kind of got some turf tail going on right now, so he's missed out. Logan Diggs has stepped up. He's been the man. So you have an absolute speedster, upperclassman in Tyree, who is going to be he's going to get probably the lion's share of your carries. You're going to have Diggs, who dances around the line of scrimmage and waits for holes to open like Le'Veon Bell. Again, I'm a Steelers fan, so I have such an appreciation for that and that running style. So it's really cool and unique to see. And then you have Audric Estime, who is an actual human bowling ball. It's so exciting to think that you're going to have your offensive line another year older, another year stronger, another off season to build and get better, right? Because this was obviously one of those lows that we were talking about with recruiting and how it builds back up and you go through your peaks and valleys. Where we're on the ascension next year with the offensive line. We have that running back room plus Tyler Buckner, who is going to present the ability to kind of spread the field a little bit more, have the keeper. So if he has the talent to keep that ball and run off with it, you're going to freeze that defensive end coming off the weak side on any sort of rush. And that's, again, just going to help open up holes a little by little for this running back room. So that's something I wanted to address is and then obviously you think on the outside, you have Colsey and you have JT and you have all these other, absurd talents at wide receiver. This offense next year might legitimately look like an Oklahoma offense. Like, am I getting out ahead of myself? What am I seeing?
Let me reel you in. I don't disagree with you, but the biggest helper of how the running backs are going to play is the offensive line. Like, we said this in the preseason that our running backs group on paper got better this year because Kyron Williams is a year older and Chris Tyree is a year older. Production's been down from both of them because the offensive line has been absolutely garbage for most of the year. So that's the biggest thing. If you tell me we have a Notre Dame offensive line next year, yeah, we're going to be a great fucking offense, I tell you. If it's a struggle again, then I'm a little worried about how we're going to get that run game going, other than Tyler Buckner just is the guy who keeps everybody on their toes. I will say we expect Kyron Williams to declare for the draft, but I wouldn't guarantee that he's gone. And the reason I say that is production as a whole for him. We know how good he is. We know he's gotten better, but production has dipped for him just generally. And there is a lot of talented backs that will probably be going to the draft. So there is an outside chance, Kyron being the leader that he is and the character that he is, maybe he's here next year. I'm not even saying that's the likely chance. I think that is a slim chance. But don't count it out entirely. If it happens, I'd be a little surprised, but I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, I actually agree a lot. I would prefer to see Kyron go, believe it or not, just because I want to see those younger backs have some more time. And I think Kyron is absolutely NFL ready. And when I'd never want a guy to have to choose between looking at an NFL paycheck and everything, right? Go get your money.
Especially as a running back. You don't last long in the league as a running back these days. It's cheaper, younger running backs. Go get your money.
Yeah, you've got 5 to 7 years if you're lucky. So especially as a running back, get into the league while you're 21 rather than 22, 23. So regardless of whatever decision he makes, I mean, I'm born on June 23rd, right? So the number 23 is my number, not just like a Michael Jordan thing. That's kind of the reasoning behind it. So Kyron is my favorite number. His style of play is exactly how I would play if I had any modicum of athletic talent or ability like him. He's absolutely fantastic. But he's a 5-tool player, picks up the pass rush, runs hard, but he's impossible to take down. Great balance, great stiff arm. He can run routes, he can catch the ball. I mean, he can do it all. He's Booby Miles, and he can pass. Right? But yeah, I mean that running back room for next year it's going to be an absolute stable of Horsemen. But and another thing that you actually did bring up, and I wanted to. As I'll let you kind of transition to the next topic in a minute here, but I did want to give a shout out. You did bring up character. What guy is showing his character more over the past 4 years than Avery Davis? Right. This is a guy that he was a dual threat quarterback. Right. signed, came in here. He moved to defensive back. He moved to running back, and then finally he moved over to wide receiver. He's had 3 position changes. He's redshirted. He's a redshirted junior, so a true senior in the classroom. Brian Kelly has already said, he absolutely has an invite to return to the program next year as a redshirted senior if he would like to. So that would be his graduate year. So, I mean, he's just stepped up every step of the way, and especially last year, that was really his emergence. And this year, especially you think that Clemson game.
Well, I was gonna say, I was hoping you weren't gonna say it because I wanted to jump in and say maybe the biggest catch in program history in the last 20 years. I don't know if there's been a bigger play in Notre Dame 21st century history than Avery Davis catching that ball, that deep ball, and taking it to near the goal line.
Yeah, you'd be hard pressed. Maybe the Tyler Eifert play against Stanford be just because that preserved a perfect season, but I don't know. I mean, it's definitely in the top 3, but I think there's definitely an argument for the number 1 play.
Yeah, I mean, let's go on this tangent for a second because we're doing off the cuff.
Let's go. Yeah, I mean, this is an in between week, so we're just talking football. Let's go.
Yeah, no disrespect to Navy or Virginia, but
disrespect.
But disrespect. Okay, here are the top catches I can think of off the top of my head. Miles Boykin, LSU. I would argue, though, that was kind of a mid-tier bowl game, so did it really matter? Mm-hmm. You brought up Eifert. That's a great one. You could argue the Golson to, I think it was Nicholas play in 2014 Stanford, that 4th and 11 from the 30. You know which one I'm referring to? It was one of the one of the craziest catches.
Was it? I think it was Ben Koyak.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. It was Ben Koyak. Yeah.
Okay. And that was it. Might have even been 4th down, and he just got him in the corner.
Yeah,
that was
it was like 4th and 11, and he threw a 30-yard pass with the game on the line in like 20 seconds, and hit him in the end zone.
Speaking of game-winning pass, basically at the buzzer, and Virginia, Will Fuller from Deshaun Kaiser.
I was going to say Fuller against USC. First throw of the game. I'm trying to think of some. Chase Claypool's had more iconic catches than I could count. That one
if you want to go way back, then
alive.
Yep, Georgia was unbelievable. I mean, oh my God, because that was when he was like parallel to the ground and out of bounds, like his body was, but he kept his feet, and that was incredible.
Equiminius St. Brown against Texas had a really nice one.
He was one of my favorites. Michael Floyd, my all-time favorite. Mm-hmm. He had a million. I mean, he was incredible. And then obviously Golden Tate as well.
Tate's great. What about Chris Brown in the Oklahoma game? That's 2012. That's that bomb over the top. Mm-hmm. Really, really kind of blew that game open. Yeah, there's some great ones, but you know what? I think I stand by it. I think Avery Davis has the most important catch in 21st century Notre Dame history, because that was the upset in one of the greatest games ever played. And that was the play that put us there. I get goosebumps thinking about that game to this date. And no, I don't care we lost the rematch. All that matters, and on that night, we upset the number 1 team in the country in like triple overtime. It will last forever. And it doesn't matter Lawrence was gone. DJ threw better than Lawrence probably would have, because his EPA per pass was like ungodly. It didn't even make sense how he was playing that well.
Yep.
Anyway, what tangent were we on?
We've been all over the place. We just went from the running back room to just praise of Avery Davis as a person and as a character, and obviously there's tons to praise in regards to his football acumen and how well he's developed, and I think he's a legitimate NFL starter in the slot in the future. So pray for his recovery. We went over the big time catches, and obviously that's where Avery Davis kind of transitioned into. Any other thoughts that you had, or any other thought exercises?
I do. Michael Mayer. He's only 2 seasons into his career. It feels like he's just scratching the surface of what he can do. After only, a season and a half, really. Where do you rank him? Notre Dame tight ends.
I think
And again, he's only had 2 years. Like, we're not.
Mhm.
This isn't the end of his career here. We're just talking halfway through. How do you kind of stack them?
I did just spend my past weekend in Covington, Kentucky, and drove by Covington Catholic on the way to my hotel. So I do feel a deep personal connection with Michael Mayer and his entire family. I feel like he's honestly one of my best friends at this point. And no, but I think Mayer right now, who would be better? I think right now the only two guys career-wise, I'm not talking talent, talking Notre Dame career. The only two guys that I think are better than him right now are Kyle Rudolph and Tyler Eifert.
Yeah, I agree.
I think when it comes to pure talent and skill, Tyler Eifert is still yet to be topped. I think Michael Mayer next year is going to ultimately prove that he is that dude. I mean, he's an absolute freak. So I think by the time his career is ended, he will be considered not only the most talented in terms of his football talent, but also the most accolades and kind of the statistics and the whole nine.
Okay, I disagree slightly there. I think at this point I'd rank him third as well because his second year was better than Cole Kmet's second year. But I would say Cole Kmet obviously in his entire career had accomplished more. I think Mayer passes him next year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he might pass Kyle Rudolph because I think as great as Kyle Rudolph was he was better in the NFL. Like, he was a great college tight end, but like Kyle Rudolph was one of the best tight ends in the NFL for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anyone's going to top Tyler Eifert. I think maybe that's just my bias because he was the tight end when I was at my like most important and influential years as a fan.
Mm-hmm. That's Michael Floyd for me. So I can resonate with this.
So for me, I think I'd say Eifert is untouchable. Just especially pure talent. Like, that guy was unbelievable to watch. But Mayer, man, I don't want to count anything out. This Mayer kid is really, really good. And he's probably going to leave after 3 instead of 4. So you got to consider that as well. But boy, what a good group to have for next year, right? If you're talking about, it's going to be an inexperienced starting quarterback at Ohio State. To have that security blanket, Michael Mayer, that's huge. And he is coming back, right? He's only in his second year. So you're going to have that. You're going to have a good rapport with Styles and Colsey. Avery Davis might be back. I wouldn't discount one of our Austin or Lindsey coming back. You're going to have the incoming class with Merriweather and CJ Williams in it. Lots to get excited about. I know it feels like we keep going back to the first game next year. I swear we still have a season's worth to go through. We're not looking too far ahead. Okay. Any other thought experiments? Do you have anything, or do you want to talk about UVA?
You know what? I was going to talk about the incoming linebackers, but I do want to save talking more so about recruiting in the future for basically as we get into bowl season, when we have a couple of weeks in between our final game of the season and our New Year's Six bowl. So let's save that for December.
Sure. But how about you let our audience know what happened in linebacker recruiting, just to give them a preview of what's got you so excited?
Oh, of course. Let me just pull it up right here. I want to just get the actual number statistics, kind of the whole nine here. So one moment. Perfect. Here we are. Yep. So Drake Bowen, he is currently the number 1 recruit out of the state of Indiana. So he's staying at home. He obviously got recruited by and committed to Notre Dame. He's the number 2 linebacker in the country, ranked number 28 overall. His rating is a 0.9868. I believe, and I don't have my spreadsheet on me. I'm not currently at my normal computer. I believe that Drake Bowen is now officially rated the 3rd or 4th highest linebacker commit in Notre Dame history. And this is coming after, like Jalen Smith and that ilk. So, tons of upside, 6'2", 215 pounds out of Maryville, Indiana.
5-star kid, and also 2023. So he's not coming in next year. He'll be here for the following class. So this is a little ways down the way, but that's a huge commitment for the Notre Dame program.
Exactly, and he's coming in again with fellow 5-star Brennan Vernon, who is on the defensive line. Keon Keeley is
soon to be 5-star.
Yeah, he's a 4-star at 0.9544 is his cumulative grade on 247, but Keon Keeley in a game against number one quarterback prospect Arch Manning, I think sacked him twice and also picked him off, and I think he also forced a fumble as well. Like Keon Keeley literally just dominated him
as an edge rusher. This
as
isn't a
an edge.
linebacker here we're talking about. This is an edge rusher who picked off Arch Manning. Yeah.
Mhm.
Lots of great stuff we're going to get into. We will save that for December.
Precisely.
But just to give you guys an update at home, if you're not religiously following the recruitment of high school kids, Steve's got you there. So let's get into UVA, Virginia, the Cavaliers. Of course, last time we played them. Actually, we may have played them since, but the last time I can remember was the Deshaun Kaiser miracle touchdown. We've probably
beat them,
played them since.
I'm pretty sure
it's forgettable.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like Book beat them as well, but it doesn't matter.
He did.
Facts don't matter here. This is a propaganda machine. We're only 5.5 point favorites. Does that surprise you?
It does because and it's not because I don't think that Virginia is going to score points. And I want everyone listening now, Virginia is going to score points in this game. That is not an indictment on the defense. That is not an indictment on Marcus Freeman. Our defense is great. They're not phenomenal, but they are great, and Marcus Freeman is incredible. This is a off the charts passing offense. Brennan Vernon is coming in with literally double the amount of yards and double the amount of touchdowns as Jack Cohn. He's also thrown the ball two times as much. So literally, if Jack Cohn just threw the ball twice as much as he did, he'd have similar stats to Brennan Armstrong, right? So Brennan Armstrong is good. He puts up numbers. This offense is potent, but they just lost. What was the score? This Virginia Cavaliers team lost to BYU just last week. I think it was like 66-49 or somewhere around there. So they gave up 66 points. Their defense is an atrocity. And who would you say offense is better? BYU's offense or Notre Dame's offense? I'm going to say Notre Dame's offense is better. Or that's kind of my bias here. Obviously, I'm a propagandist. And then whose defense is better? I'm obviously going to go with Notre Dame. So I think that 5.5 is kind of a ridiculous line. I think it would be closer to 11.5, just given how bad the Virginia defense is. But I'm qualifying my statement by saying everybody just have the fundamental understanding now. Virginia is probably going to score 4, potentially even 5 touchdowns. Just get that into your mind now, but we are still going to win this game.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. It's a potent offense, but I don't know. If North Carolina didn't score 6 touchdowns and USC didn't score 6 touchdowns, I don't think UVA is the team to score 6 touchdowns on us. Granted, we are on the road, so I wouldn't be surprised to see anything in this football game. I think Virginia is a team to be worried about, but a 5.5 point spread does seem a bit much to me. And, not to brag or not to endorse gambling. If you do so responsibly. But these last 2 weeks, I have done well with Notre Dame. Last week against North Carolina, just money lined them. And then this week, I parlayed Notre Dame with everything because there was no way they were losing to Navy. I think 5.5 is a good line to take. I think the implied odds there are a bit low. I would expect Notre Dame to win. I will pick Notre Dame to win. But it's not going to be an easy game. Expect it to be a frustrating game. The offense will click, but not at all times. The defense will get stops, but they will be scored on. It'll be a little bit too close to comfort, but I am not worrying about Virginia. They're probably the toughest game remaining on the schedule, but I'm not worried about them.
Yeah, I echo the sentiment. I would say I'm not worried, but I'm concerned. Just because when you have a game that projects to be potentially a shootout, I'm pretty sure what's the over under in this game, like 66.5 or something like that, right? So they're projecting both teams to score somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 points, 35 points. So points are going to be scored, right? This is the way that this game is going to go, and a crazy kind of turnover as we saw in the Cincinnati game could make ultimately all the difference. So I'm concerned, but I'm not worried. That's the distinction I'm making there. I think that Notre Dame is still 2 touchdowns better, at the very least, possibly more. And I'm ready to give my score prediction if you are, unless you had any closing thoughts.
Nope. I put a score down. We'll see. We'll see. For those who may be new listening to the show, Steve and I tend to get really, really close, although I think maybe not this week. We'll see. Steve, what do you have?
The Notre Dame Fighting Irish are going to score 44 points in a victory where Virginia scores 31. 44-31 Irish.
Okay, that's good. Actual margin is similar. I do see this differently. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. Not a low scoring game, just a lower scoring game. I'm going to go Notre Dame 34, Virginia 24. I think Notre Dame covers. I think it's not a perfect game, but at the end of the day, it's going to be a solid performance. It'll be one more step to an 11-1 season, and I think it'll be the biggest weight off the shoulders because you get Georgia Tech at home, and Georgia Tech is tight, but Notre Dame at home, we know how that goes. And then you're going to the tree to play the tree to end the season. And while Palo Alto has been miserable for Notre Dame in recent years, and Stanford has upset both USC and UCLA, I think they beat UCLA. They shouldn't be beating Notre Dame. So this is the last big test, I think. And even then, I don't think it's a big test. But yeah, reasons for optimism. Always reasons for optimism. Have you changed at all, or are you still a negative guy?
I've changed a lot. Don't worry, the darkness is still down there. I just have learned how to suppress it. Just trying to talk things into existence, trying to talk a national championship into existence. It's gonna happen. I'm guaranteeing a Notre Dame national title in the next 3 years. It's just not going to be this year. But that does not mean that we don't have anything to play for. We absolutely do. Does not mean we are not a great football program. We absolutely are. The Irish are going 11-1. We're going to win this game, and we're going to have some momentum. We're going to win on the field. We're going to win in the classroom. We're going to win on the recruiting trail, because that's what the Fighting Irish do. Those are my thoughts. We're going to kick the living shit out of the Woos or Who's or whatever the hell they call themselves in Virginia. And that's pretty much the closing thoughts that I have, unless there's anything else you wanted to address.
Well, I'm looking forward to the day where our podcast is played in court as part of your trial for whatever future crimes you commit, because they will be certainly listening to see what made this man tick. And I will tell you now, it was Notre Dame football. No, good pod. Of course, it's great to be with our listeners. As always, follow us at Horsemen Pod on Twitter. Rate
and Instagram.
5-star review. Make sure to give a nice comment. We appreciate all the help we can get. It's season's coming quick, but it's been a fun one. And let's hope this continues. Let's hope we keep seeing the team we all love win. And let's get ready for the following week. So that said, go Irish. Beat Virginia.
Go Irish.